of the morning to you. This is Michelle Stoutwright. Uh, Welcome to another day of Figure It Out Friday, Author's Edition. See, I'm figuring it out this Friday in my car, so I don't know if I have everybody on. So please, someone say something.
Good morning.
Something.
Hello.
Michelle, you are good. You're rocking and rolling. I hear you. It is a beautiful Friday, and our main man, Mr. Chad Free, is here as well. The dynamic duo. It's all yours, Michelle. Take us to this special edition of Figured Out Friday today.
Well, this is a Figure It Friday for sure for Author's Edition because I've like triple booked myself for 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sitting here at the high school getting ready to run in directly after. And yeah, it's a Figure It Out Friday. I should have on with us, in addition to Chad, who's going to help today, Harlan Accola, who's the author of Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, the Cinderella, the Baby Boomer Retirement. Is
I'm here, Michelle.
Here you are. Welcome, Harlan. It's so good to see you this morning.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Well, before we get started, I wanted to just go into a little bit of why we're here. And it all started several years ago. I was sitting in a meeting with Chad Free. It was studying about people of interest and becoming a person of interest. And he happened to be sitting next to me, and it was right after I lost a bunch of money after COVID in my 401k. And I went, I need to do something because I cannot afford to have this happen to me again. And so we built a relationship over the years, and he's advised me and helped me on so many different terms. And we were talking a little bit ago about what more I could do. And he said, Michelle, there's something you might want to consider. And I recommend that you read this book, which is the book that we're going to talk about today. Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages. This might be something that you might be interested in at this stage of your life. And he just kind of dropped it at that. And he said, after you read the book, I recommend you talk to the author directly and search him out. And I read the book. It was kind of interesting. It changed my thoughts on reverse mortgages. And I just wanted to thank Chad, and which is one of the reasons I wanted him on this show, because Harlan, we have a lot of people who are in real estate and mortgages and finance that are on this call or who will look at this call. And so I think it would be very valuable for him. Chad, do you want to take it away?
You know I will. Good morning, everybody. What's up? Harlan, my man, I am so excited to be on here. I have felt like poo all week, but I think just knowing that I was going to have this opportunity, that kind of helped me get back on, you know what I mean, on track. So I am super, super excited. And I want to talk to you about something. I want to get your attention off the get-go, okay? You've already heard a word and a phrase that you probably already have question marks bouncing around. Reverse mortgages. You know why I know that? Because that was me. And I don't like reading books. I like listening to them. But I got this book and I went through the whole thing. And as you can see, I've got almost something highlighted on every page. Because here's what I'm all about. I'm all about disrupting the status quo and showing people all their options that can set them free from financial bondage. And I want to start out before we get into it, Harlan. He's got one thing that I want you just to know. I want you to understand. One question. If what you thought about reverse mortgages and financial planning were wrong, when would you want us to tell you about it? With that question, let's get into it. Harlan, so good to have you here, my man. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm just doing great. I don't know if I'm doing I don't know if my meter's as high as yours, but it's getting really close. So I'm going to try to just get up to Chad's level.
Come on now, come on. Hey, when you don't have to show the energy when you're just glowing like you, okay, Harlan? So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Let's start out real quick. Let's talk about um, you know, what motivated you to get into this? We're gonna have to talk fast, so y'all need to listen fast because it's good stuff, okay? What motivated you to really go narrow and deep on reverse mortgages?
Well, because I cared about widows. I felt sorry for widows. I was in the business, in the mortgage business, the forward mortgage business, doing all kinds of mortgages. I ran across these poor widows who were 75, 85, even 90 years old, and they were broke and they didn't have anything. And it was like, why did this happen? I mean, many of them had all kinds of money and they made great strides during their lifetime, and then they didn't have much. And I thought, well, the problem is that there's a bunch of these bad mortgage guys going around and selling reverse mortgages and taking away their house. We should do something about these horrible people. This was about 20 years ago. And so then I live in Wisconsin. I get a invitation in the mail that I almost threw away because it said reverse mortgage seminar on it, training for loan officers. And I was just throwing it in the wastebasket. And I looked and I saw it was in Miami, Florida in January. If you live in Wisconsin, you go to any seminar in Miami in January. You don't care what it's about. And that's the only reason I went. And that's what motivated me to go. But I was going to cut out and go to the beach. But instead of going to the beach after the first half a day of that 3-day training, it was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm wrong. And that's why where it comes from, if what you thought you knew is wrong, when do you want to find out? When do you want us to tell you? So I found out in that 3-day period that and I tested it and I tried to prove it wrong. And I went to my financial advisor and I went to other people and even pastors and said, something's got to be wrong here. And no matter how hard I tried to prove it wrong, it kept coming up that this is one of the greatest tools of retirement. And anybody that believes that you can build wealth through real estate and that you can use that wealth needs to understand this and know this because it's literally life changing. It's been that way for me. I'm now 65, have my own reverse mortgage. My parents had one before they passed, my wife's parents, friends, people from church, and of course, even my own sister bought a house with a reverse mortgage. So it changed lives for the better once I understood how to use the tool, and that dramatically has not only changed my life, but many others. And together, working with all of you in the real estate community, we can change the world, not just a few thousand people. That's a long answer to
100%.
our question, Chad.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So you guys, the audience, hear me say everybody's got a next step to become better. Even the best can become better. Everybody can learn something new each day if we just open our mind. Our mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. And let's understand that we don't know it all, right? We don't know it all. But here's what I'm going to say. There's a lot of people, specifically with the baby boomers, that they're we've got the greatest transfer right now in history, and they are all going to be trying to figure it out. Figured out Friday. They're going to be trying to figure it out. Okay, and what I see Harlan has done, he has figured out a way to show people how to live their life in the fourth quarter more abundantly, more freely, more at peace. And here's the deal, guys. He's like me. It's all math. So you can take the noise that you hear about all this stuff, but if you're just open your mind to and open your eyes to see the math, it just makes sense. So with that being said, how do you feel that this is better holistically for somebody in their retirement planning?
Well, where I really got to hit it on, Chad, is, I'll just try to give this a quick share for those of you that can maybe see this if you're not on your phones, or even if you are on your phones, it might pop up. But it's a very simple drawing of 3 buckets. And it's chapter 5 in my book. It's specifically about how this fits into your financial life. and that so few people understand, which is sad because our culture and tradition is working against this. But everybody has three buckets of wealth. Bucket one is a client's bucket. That's their ability to make money by wages, commissions, business earnings, whatever. Bucket two is what, for those of you that are financial advisors on this call or listening to it later, that's managing 401k, stocks, bonds, IRAs, life insurance, annuities, whatever. Things that money that you don't need today, nest egg money that you're putting away for the future. But for all of you real estate professionals on the call, whether you're in lending, whether you are in real estate, bucket three is the bucket that we manage. And we help people buy homes. We help people find homes and move up and buy rental properties and so on. And we create real estate wealth. And many of you have said at one time or another, you can build wealth through real estate, which is without question true. Many, many people have a tremendous amount of wealth today because they bought a house back in the 80s or the 90s or whatever, and it just went up dramatically. And even if they bought a house 5 years ago, they did pretty well. So that's wonderful and that's normal. But what happens when we get to retirement? So we know that we put money into IRAs, annuities, 401ks, Social Security, whatever. We put that in so we can take it out in the future. We know that. And that's just part of the plan. When you're 20 some years old and you get your first job, they even talk to you about a 401k. You put money in, you can take it back out when you're 59 and a half or when you're 75 or whenever you need that money in the future. But what do we tell people about houses? You put money in and you never take it out. And you give it to your kids when you die who don't want it and will properly sell it. 98% of kids sell their parents' houses. They do not live in them. So why is everybody so just almost hell-bent, as some people will say, on giving their house to their kids who don't want it? You can give them life insurance. You can give them Roth IRAs. You can give them money now to buy their own house while you're alive. It's just really crazy how people don't understand that this is a source of wealth and you can do something with it. So you put money in, you can take money out. All a reverse mortgage is during your lifetime, you are very simply doing this. You're taking cash and you're putting it into your house and creating equity. And then what happens later? A reverse mortgage allows you to take the equity in your house, some of it, not all of it, 30 to 50% of it, and turn it back into cash. Now, very simply, why would people not do that? Why is there something wrong with that? Why is that weird or strange? Why people don't take money out of their house? Because of tradition and culture. We are taught that you put money into your house and you never take it out. I'm a baby boomer. In the 60s, I went to mortgage burning parties with my father. And he told me about how dangerous it was to have a mortgage. I mean, that'll scare the heck out of an 8-year-old kid. You know, mortgages are to be feared. You get rid of them as quickly as possible. We were brought up that way by Depression era parents. And that is something that has completely skewed that. But people don't realize everything changed in 1988. Everything changed in 1988 when President Reagan did a new housing bill and said, we are going to safeguard reverse mortgages so widows are not ripped off, so widows are helped, so people over 62 have a better, safer retirement. And many people have not got the memo that started back in 1988. Quite frankly, it's that simple. All we do is turn equity back into cash. If you use $100,000 of a $300,000 house and you pass away, your kids still get the $200,000 that's left. That is something that we have to understand. The bank is not taking your house. It's not kicking widows out. I just get this statement every month, and it says right on the top, I owe $589,000 on my reverse mortgage, and it says this is not a bill. I don't have to pay it until I'm 150 or I move out of my house. Why would everybody not want to do that? It just kind of makes sense.
I hope you all are picking up what he's putting down, because if we went back to the buckets, the more money that you can have in bucket two will outwork anything that happens over here in bucket three. And I love what you said, like 98% of people say, well, I'm leaving my house to my kids, I'm pay it off. But then if you're doing a survey outside the grocery store to all the kids coming out, hey, what you doing with mom and daddy's house when when whatever happens to them? Oh, we're selling it. You can pass a lot of things on with a warm hand. This is another one of your sayings, instead of a cold hand while they're alive. as long as you do it right.
Well, you could not
So
be more accurate on that, Chad. Here's the deal. There are millions of kids right now, kids 30s, 40s, 20s, that cannot afford to buy a house, that are telling real estate agents they can't buy a house. They'd like to, they're renting. They know that that doesn't make sense, but they don't have the down payment. They can't afford the monthly payment. We involve the kids at Movement Mortgage, the company I work with. We work with forward loan officers and real estate agents. I speak to real estate agents almost every single week somewhere in our 50 states that we have offices, and explain to them that, hey, let's talk to the parents. What are the parents going to do with the house when they die? Give it to their kids. Why do they have to wait until they die? We just had a lady in the state of Washington took out $400,000 out of her $1.5 million house and gave 200,000 to each of her kids so her kids could afford the payment on the house with a large down payment. She simply gave the money to the kids with a warm hand, as you just said, Chad, instead of a cold hand after she's dead 20 years from now. Now she can enjoy seeing that. All four of my kids have houses because I helped them as soon as they possibly could when they were out of college, when they were getting married, whatever, all four of my kids. So our family has 5 houses of wealth growing. I'm not waiting and giving them one house when I die. I want my kids to have houses right now. And imagine what has happened with that wealth out of 5 houses in the last 5 to 7 years when they started buying houses. So I'm just a farm kid from Wisconsin who never went to college, but this isn't that complicated. The quicker you buy a house, the quicker that goes up. If I wouldn't have bought that $70,000 house in 1981 with 16.5% interest, I would not be living in $1 million plus house today. And there are many kids that don't understand that, and they're not doing it, and they're reading the baloney, I call it financial porn, that they're reading in Kiplinger's or Fortune or whatever, that it's better to rent. Never has been, probably never will be. So let's understand the real estate and then how to use it. And I'll end this part of the question with this point. My son bought when he bought his house about 5 years ago. He called me up on the phone. He said, "Dad, I'm the newest homeowner in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Get your butt over and help us move. We are so excited about our new house." By the way, Bridget and I read your book, and we understand that we just started on our reverse mortgage. And I said, "Well, Josh, you're 30 years old. It's another 30 years." And he said, "Dad, when we signed that thing and said we got to make $2,100 worth of payments, I understood and Bridget understood that we're going to get a refund of all of our payments when we get to be your age. So we don't mind making those payments because it's all going to come back when we get to be your age and we head into retirement." How many first-time home buyers have been told that story? Like 0. I mean, obviously, I brainwashed the kid. I made him read my book, but most kids have not read that and understand that they're getting a refund of their payments. Doesn't that make it easier to sell a house when you know you're going to get a refund of all your payments? I just wish more people understood that.
Yeah, Harlan, this is Michelle. I just want to interject here because when I initially looked at it, my late husband he was 10 years older than I, and so this stuff about reverse mortgages came in, and I just didn't like it. I mean, I was one of those people that say, you know, stay away from me. I don't want anything. I don't want people to take my house from me, which is the understanding that I had, and it was like a last resort. But this sounds like something that we really need to look at from all ages and be part of our financial planning. So that's really good.
So well said, Michelle. That is the key. From the time you invest in a life insurance policy, an annuity, when I would go to Chad and say, "Hey, Chad, if I put this much money into an annuity, how much will I get back?" That would just be, Chad would tell me, even if I didn't ask that. That's just an understanding. You put money into an investment. How do I get it back out? When do I get it back out? How much do I get back out? Why don't we do that with our house? Why don't we look at the whole picture, exactly what Michelle just said? Why don't we look at how this goes from the beginning to the end? If I'm putting money in, many people say the best investment I ever made is my house. Is it? You're 75 years old and you're still replacing the roof and making payments. 50% of people over 62 are still making payments into their house when they don't have to. Is that a good investment? You still have to put money into your IRA instead of taking it out at 75 years old. You still have to put money into your annuity at 75 instead of getting money from the annuity. You know that wouldn't make sense. So why are we doing the same thing with real estate? We're not even unleashing the power of what this really is, because people say, if I do a reverse mortgage, I'm going to lose equity. Well, if you take money out of your IRA, you're losing cash, but you're not losing it, you're using it. It's an entirely different situation. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with using the money that you've placed in an investment. It's just a matter of saying, okay, I've got money here, I've got money there, I've got money in this bucket, that bucket over there. I'm just going to take some out. What if I walked into Chad's office and I said, hey, Chad, I'm 65 years old. I decided to call it quits. I'm not going to work anymore, which I'm not there yet. But if I said that, I said, Chad, I'd like to start drawing on that deferred annuity now. I'd like to start pulling some money out. And Chad said, oh, no, Harlan, that's not your money. That's for your kids. Just keep sending money in. And when you die, we'll give it to your kids. I'd fire Chad. I'd say, no, that's my money. But do people walk into our office and ask for their money back? No. Why not? Because they've been conditioned and told that you only send money in and you never take it out. We must change that. And that's why I called it the Cinderella of the baby boomer retirement. We have $14 trillion, 14 trillion with a T, baby boomers sitting in our houses. We've done a better job. The real estate community has done a better job than financial advisors. There's only about 9 trillion in IRAs. Nothing against what Chad is doing. Chad's doing a better job than most advisors, as you guys know. But we've done a fantastic job of helping people build wealth. But why don't we help them take it out? We are the Cinderella of the baby boomer retirement. We were not invited to the ball. We weren't even on the guest list. Nobody's looking at reverse mortgages, the guest list, as a funding list for retirement. They're looking at IRAs, they're looking at Social Security, they're looking at pensions. They're not looking at this, but we have the potential, with your help, to spread the word. We have the potential to be the star of the ball with 14 trillion.
Wow. And Harlan, I like this. You just pointed out something to spread the word. What other things, obviously you have the book, and we'll have Rika will be putting on some information on how they can buy your book and that type of thing. But what else are you doing in order to help spread the word?
Great question, Michelle. What we do is I've assembled a team over the last 15 years of people that are talking exactly the way I am. I just saw Latrice said, I've never heard a loan officer explain the benefits of buying a house this way. Thank you for that, Latrice. We explain it completely different. We have a team of 30 people that cover all 50 states in the US. We work with real estate agents. We work with financial advisors. And of course, we work with, Bob and Sue, and explain to them what they can do and how they can do it and how this fits into their plan. And most people, most real estate agents, when they look at this, they say, they're just like me. They say, how would this work for me? Can I get one of these when I'm 62? And how will this fit into my financial plan? I put more money into cash value life insurance and annuities because I did not pay off my house. Because of that, I have long-term care taken care of. I have a death benefit to my kids. I have cash that I have available to use that is liquid because I never put too much money in my house. As Chad said, the more money you put into bucket 2, the better your retirement. It's that simple. But if you're putting too much money into bucket 3, it's not working. So we sit down with, in answer to Michelle's question, we sit down individually with the professional in many cases first, even if they're in their 40s or 50s, and say, how does this fit in to your eventual plans? How is this going to go in the long term? And how would this fit into your plan? And it is not a question of need. It is a question of how does this fit in now? And so that's how we spread the word, is individually, one at a time, doing a case study and saying, how does this fit in? Because it's foreign. If you're 60-some years old, for 40 years, you've never thought about a mortgage. You've never thought about a housing wealth this way. And so we walk through how this fits in, because I don't need a reverse mortgage. I can afford to make my mortgage payment, but I don't want to. And so when I looked at my case study back in my 40s, I knew what I was going to do when I got to be 62, and I knew how much money I was going to save in taxes. In fact, I saved $34,000 in taxes last year, and so have many of our clients, because of the reverse mortgage, not because we need it, but because we want it, and it's a fantastic retirement tool.
I got to jump in here. Okay. So that is a perfect reason or something to push over here. I've heard you talk about, you've got clients that they don't need this, but once they see how much or how beneficial it could be, you could get this and use it to convert a lot of your pre-tax retirements accounts, which will allow you to leave more to your kids. So it's a tax play as well for more, more wealthy folks. It's not just somebody who, oh man, I can't afford to live. No, this is bigger than that. So I wanted to stress that. And then one more thing before we land the plane here, something that may be bouncing around in your head is, let's just say that equity line of credit or the balance got really, really, really high. And some of you Debbie Downers or ones that think that the world's coming to an end, tomorrow or next week. Oh, I'm going to owe more than my house is worth. That's going to be terrible for my kids. Will you please explain that piece right there? Because I think that will put a lot of the questions to bed about reverse mortgages.
No discussion on reverse mortgage would be complete without answering this question that Chad had, because a lot of people will say, okay, so what's the catch? This might sound great, but it doesn't end well. Well, I'm a big fan of the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Many of you have read it. And one of the habits are begin with the end in mind. And that's where really I started when I tried to argue with the instructor back in Miami on that beach 20 some years ago. And I said, this is great, but who's to say that house prices are always going to go up? Because what goes up must come down. We found that out in 2008, and then everything crashed. Well, here's the deal. These are non-recourse loans. When Reagan put this into place in 1988, it came with an insurance program. You wouldn't go out and own a house without homeowners insurance. I would hope that you wouldn't, because you would not want to put that at risk. Obviously, if you have a mortgage, you're required to have insurance. But on this scenario, it is guaranteed that if your house is upside down at the end, there is a fee, there's a cost. People say these things are expensive. Yeah, there's a 2% fee to get into a reverse mortgage, which comes out of most of the time out of your equity. You don't write a check for it, it just comes out of equity. And that 2% goes into an insurance fund, which guarantees that if you die in a year like 2008, 2009, 2010, and the house prices dropped in half and your mortgage balance is still up here, like right now I owe $580,000 and my house is worth over $1 million. But what happens if my house is only worth $500,000 and I owe $700,000? The difference is forgiven with no tax consequences, and I walk away with a tax deduction if my house has dropped in value. Now, is that sad if my house dropped in value? Sure. My uncle died in 2009, and his house went from 200,000 down to 100,000, his little house in Edgar, Wisconsin. And he did not have anything more than the house and his $300,000 in his investment with his advisor. What happened to that 50,000 that he was upside down? The house was sold on a short sale. His heirs got a tax deduction, and there was no problem for him. Of course, there was no problem for him. He was dead, but there was no problem for his heirs. They didn't have to come up with some money, and the $300,000 with his advisors, all of that went to his heirs. If it's good, the money goes to the kids. If it's bad, the bill goes to FHA, and you never have to worry about the difference. Guaranteed short sale with no negotiation from the beginning of the loan. When I did my loan, just like everybody, I signed a form that says release of personal liability. I'm not personally liable for this. My kids aren't, my estate isn't, my trust isn't. I'm not liable for the loan. The house is, and if the house doesn't have enough money at the end of the day, then the bill goes to FHA. So important to understand that, because people say, well, that's great if everything keeps going up, but if it doesn't, it's a problem. If you went to a gambling casino and it said there was a sign in the front that said, you are guaranteed not to lose. I'm not a gambler, but I'd go into that casino because you're guaranteed not to lose. You're not guaranteed to win, but you're guaranteed not to lose. That's a reverse mortgage. That's why I wear this shirt. It's not a mirror image. It is a reverse mortgage. But the bottom line is that you are guaranteed not to lose with this. You cannot lose. You can only win. And if you live a long time, I have to start worrying when I'm 149 years old because I only have a year left. This is good until 150. I'm not worrying about that right now. I'm 65, got a long ways to go.
That is
Wow.
awesome. Well, it's
Yeah.
8:46. Harlan, thank you so much for being here. Michelle, you got anything that you'd like to share? I would encourage you. I'm one of his preferred partners in this from a financial standpoint. and I'm glad to be a part of that. So anyway, Michelle, if you got anything, Harlan, what would you like to leave us today?
The biggest thing that I want to make sure you know is the most important thing about life. If you are on your deathbed, you are not going to be thinking and counting how much money is in your house. You are not going to be thinking about how much money you spent on a vacation last year. What is most important in our fourth quarter of life is what we did in the first, second, and third quarter. How did we set that up? What did we do? And now in the fourth quarter of life, are we passing on a legacy, not just of money or a house, but something incredibly much more valuable than that? That's really what you want to think about in a reverse mortgage. The wealth in the house that your real estate agent and your mortgage person helped you build for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is, can be used, and it can be used wisely and profitably. And as Chad mentioned, it's always a good idea to do this planning together with a financial advisor. We don't like doing these without an advisor because they don't know what to do with bucket two. So work together on this. This is hard. This is not something that is easy to understand because you've been thinking differently for 40 years. Give it some time. Don't put this idea on the shelf. It will help you and it will help every one of your clients.
Well, Harlan, thank you so much for such great insight. I think we have a lot of people that are going to have a lot more questions, and we'll try and figure out a way to continue on and be contacted. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining today, and join us Monday or for the next motivational mindset show, Mondays with Maxwell and our own Brock Zevan. So looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you guys.
Thanks
See
much.
you guys.